All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video for the Walking Dead comic book series, which have just ended basically today. So if you didn't know, there it is. We're going to talk about this one and why the series ended now. Okay, and spoiler warning, if you are not caught up with the Walking Dead comic book series, today was the release of the final issue for The Walking Dead. I did my review in the channel just before this, so you can watch it right now. The Walking Dead issue 193, me reviewing the final issue of The Walking Dead. I can't believe this is the day, but this is the day. We're reviewing it now. Watch that video after this one if you're done. So this one is going to be discussing the why, or the... basically the letter hack section of why The Walking Dead had to end here. Why didn't it continue on past? Why did it have to end at 193? The reasons, was it always planned out this way? Or, because he did say that he would, probably get to issue 300 or something like this. And obviously that's not the case. So let's go through what he says. He says, this is the end of The Walking Dead. That's it. It's over. We're done. And let's just stop there. The speculation for it, too, now that I've actually read the issue, I understand it. I get it. If you haven't read it yet, you got to read it for sure. You can read it on Comixology. Image.com has it. Amazon. Google has it. You can get it on Google right now if you want to read it right away. Walking Dead 193. That's it. It's over. We're done. So it makes sense now that there isn't going to be some kind of like spin-off series or something like that, because in the issue it's basically shown that they won 100%. They've defeated the dead to the point where the zombies now are basically laughable. They're pretty much not a threat at all. The group has beaten them, and to have them become a threat again, or to have something to do in a sequel Walking Dead series or something like that, it'd be really hard to do. Probably the best release, if they ever are to release anything Walking Dead again, would be between the time skip between issue 192 and 193. That would make sense, like to see Carl's journey after Rick and what happened, but you might have to skip around. It might be like a Here's Negan thing where you skip to certain parts and you get to see him and Sophia and how they got together and how the relationship with Lydia, but it's not, again, like it doesn't sound that exciting, right? So it makes sense here. So this is the end of The Walking Dead. That's it. It's over. We're done. And now that I've read it, I get it. It makes sense. I'm sure you have a million questions, and I'm sure you feel as emotional about all this as we do, if not more so. I'm completely willing to bet some of you are angry over this. I get it. I do mean, why didn't we announce this so that fans would have some time to prepare? So he basically goes through, he even compares it to Game of Thrones, which I like this ending way better than the Game of Thrones ending. I mean, but, having people be shocked or stunned or kind of it coming out of nowhere and long movies, he didn't want to telegraph it to the point where people knew it was going to end here. He wanted to basically do it to where it's surprising all of us, and it's kind of a raw reaction that isn't spoiled or isn't kind of set up in that kind of way. So he said it just felt wrong. It's the very nature of the series not to make the actual end as surprising as all the big deaths. And I think he got us here. I mean, I was really surprised and angry from the shock and being surprised then. But it was good, because as soon as I read the issue, I was like, oh, okay, all right, it makes sense. This is where he wanted to go. And even if he could have taken a longer route to maybe get there, this is the eventual part anyway. This is the eventual end anyway, right? So we'll get into that in a little bit. So to be honest, it seemed like a really good idea at the time. But now that we're here and the series is over, I'm having second thoughts. So maybe he wishes he would have maybe changed course or go on a little further. But he does kind of go into a little bit here where he kind of says, like some people said, maybe he ran out of ideas or this kind of thing. He gets into a little bit where he knew this was kind of the ending, and that pretty much all the other ideas that he had for things to do and sort of felt like filler, or they felt like it was unnecessary to do it, so he decided not to, or he couldn't think of things that were good enough, or maybe he's too busy nowadays with everything he's got going on to really want to do that. So here's what he said. So the thing is, it was over 4 years ago at this point, but I knew pretty much every big story point that was going to happen all the way up to this final issue. A couple years prior, around 2013 or so, I'd even told Charlie at San Diego Comic-Con what the gist of the final issue was. I revealed how the story would end with Carl reading his daughter a storybook about Rick's exploits. I just didn't know exactly what issue the story would fall in. I knew the end, but I didn't know where it would fall. I figured somewhere past issue 300. So it sounds like, based on what he's saying here, that he did, in fact, actually think that they were going to do 200 or 300 issues and that he would get to that point, as he said publicly. But based on the way everything went and the way the numbers went down in the story as he told it through, he got there faster than what he originally thought it would. He thought it would take longer to get here than it did, or maybe he just kind of ran out of good ideas to do, so he decided not to, and kind of to go further, to kind of bring in the Commonwealth and go towards that conclusion with Rick. It's just that it didn't feel like a conclusion with Rick at that point. Like, it didn't feel like this would cause peace after Rick was gone, but it does make sense that if Carl was compliant and he, didn't go kill Sebastian, and everybody went towards peace, and Rick became a symbol of peace and of everything, everybody followed suit with that, and he gave his life so the rest would fall in line, and then everything would just work out, and they would win that way, and that's how they did. So Rick gave his life, and eventually they won. And they stopped having to kill each other. There was no villainous threats that came in. They were big enough so that nobody could touch them, and the zombies became not a threat at all to them anymore. But I knew the whole run wouldn't be another 150 issues. So at some point, 142, he realized, like, it's not going to be that long, right? He didn't know how long the Whisperers would end up taking and how many issues and that kind of thing. So we started working this out, trying to figure out how long things would run, and it dawned on me that I had about 50 issues until I got my planned end. I always have to keep collections in mind. Now that we do 48-issue compendiums that are very popular, our most popular format. So I didn't know compendiums were the most popular format. I buy the trade volumes and always have, so that's me. But I started collecting before the compendiums were first released, I believe. So that's why I just kept doing it, because it was like I already had the volumes in that amount, so I just kept doing that instead of switching and buying the same one again with the first compendium. So that's just the way it went for me, but I didn't know that was their most popular format. It would be really irresponsible to wrap the series in a way that resulted in compendium readers having to buy a different format to finish the series. So I was happy with it. Appeared things would work out where the series would wrap up nicely in the fourth compendium. But I wasn't quite sure it was time to wrap things up. I love writing the series. It's been my life's dream. So when I first came to this realization, my first instinct was, well, I just really need to come up with more story. I even spent a few weeks trying to come up with a new plot, new story detours to push the ending I had in mind and keep things going for a while, possibly even a while longer, an extra compendium, maybe two. And I want to add in a character here, like, for example, the princess. She's a character that's come in fairly recently, right? Not that long ago. She's a new character, and very mixed reviews. A lot of people hate her, right? And find her very annoying, this kind of thing. Magna and some of the others that have kind of come in, and he's used a little bit, but sounds like he just kind of decided, like, okay, let's just go, for a lot of reasons, maybe the story being paramount, but also maybe his life kind of taking him in different directions. Obviously, he has other responsibilities for Walking Dead now. There's a TV series every year. There's other movies. He's going to be doing Invincible and stuff like this. So there's other stuff he's going to be working on. And so, kind of, it feels like to me sort of in the middle. It feels like kind of like he wanted to get to this point with the story eventually, and it sort of just naturally kind of creeped towards there, and he wasn't able to come up with enough, I guess, in the middle to kind of push it back enough that he decided, okay, let's just go towards that now, because pushing it back even further doesn't really make sense, and they just decided, okay. And again, pulling the curtain back, this has happened before, so he mentioned that he almost had the idea to end it in issue 72 at Alexandria, which I'm glad they didn't, because after that they brought in Negan, who was one of the highlights of The Walking Dead for me, is Negan, the Whispers, the Whisperer War, which was awesome, All Out War, which was awesome. So I'm really glad they did not end it just at Alexandria, which he says here he almost did, with No Way Out maybe being the big finale, and he kept kind of going on after that. But it sounds like finally he got to a point here where, it just got to the point where he decided, like, okay, I better do it now, because this is where I wanted to get to. I'm at this point now, and he kind of got closer to it, and he couldn't add in enough stuff to kind of push it out with enough time and the right ideas to kind of push it out further. So he kind of decided, okay, let's just connect that dot, and let's just go from here to there. Pretty much we're almost there already, and it's not taking as long as I thought it would, and I haven't been able to come up with enough stuff that has enough value to push it out further. So he just decided to kind of do it this way. So I scrapped, so he had some different planned endings throughout time that he talks about how he scrapped and stuff. We've already covered this stuff, about possibly it ending at Alexandria, this kind of stuff. It didn't, so it doesn't matter, but I've done videos on that already over the years. So 4 years ago, this plan seemed rock solid. Never tell anyone, keep it secret, and go on so far as soliciting fake issues that will never exist so that we can really surprise people. Oh man, I thought it was going to be great. I worked it out with Charlie right away. He'd always been pushing to end on a high note, so he wanted to do it as well, which is great. He also mentions here that Charlie Adler spent more time with The Walking Dead than anybody, because obviously it takes him a long time to do all the art for it, longer than it does to write it. It actually takes longer to draw it and everything, and do all that, and some of the inking and the other stuff like Rathburn and some of the others that work on it and everything. So he goes into thanking them at the end. But when he finished typing the end, he felt some relief and a sense of pride that the job was well done. But, it was, kind of, I guess, mixed emotions for him and that kind of thing. So he hopes that we understand. And he thanks us all, basically, and thanks everyone else. P.S. Negan lives at the very end. And basically saying he can't believe it's really over. But Charlie Adler, and the others and everything they did, and kind of it just naturally coming down this way. Okay, so now we can give our thoughts on why The Walking Dead basically is in at this point. He's basically explained it here. If you want to read the letter hacks all the way through yourself, you can. I'll give my speculation thoughts on it now after following, doing reviews for the series for a decade, for 10 years, out of the 15 or 16 year. Well, I did some before that, so over 10 years, like 11 or 12, however many years it's been, I've been making Walking Dead content online. When I first started reading the comic series, thought it was amazing. TV series hit, and we did that, and it became so popular and everything. With it ending at this point, so it sounds like basically, and he has said over the years that he had an endpoint in mind. I guess it's just that he kept it so well under wraps and didn't tell us ahead of time, to give us any kind of thing. That yes, he did say it would be probably 200 or 300 issues, but it sounds like to me, he tried some stuff, like with Princess and stuff like that, fairly recently, and it just was, maybe it felt to him like it wasn't really working that well. And so, again, to connect those dots to where Rick becomes kind of like a martyr, and the story ends, so between Rick becoming a martyr kind of in the story, or a martyr in a way where he becomes a symbol of hope and of peace and everything else, and gives his life for everybody to get along, and for the series to actually end here, which it actually did, with 192, 193, the time skip in between everything, he decided that this just naturally is where it fits in, and that's why it's ending at this point. So it is kind of unfortunate. It's been going a long time. It's been running a very, very long time. But I guess in the end, the why is because he wanted it to have a satisfying ending, and he wasn't able to come up with enough stuff of substance that he felt like it was worth delaying it on for another compendium or something like that. And even though he probably could have kept it going for another, compendium or two, or issue 250 or whatever it would have been, to whatever 40 or maybe 300 if it was a couple. He just felt like it wasn't, maybe it wasn't working, or it just wasn't right to where it was good enough to where it made sense that he would keep pushing away that dot to go from the time skip with Rick's death and then go to the time skip where you see Carl and you get that happy ending. So all in all, now that we've seen everything through here, I'm very happy with how things have ended off. I get that this is where he wanted to do it. At least he did it here, and he was able to finish it in high quality, right, with the same artist that's been doing it since issue 7, and Charlie Adler and everything, and he wrote all the issues and everything, so that's great too. And nothing ended up happening to him before it ended, so we didn't get the ending that we wanted, which is always a fear. If you're going to do hundreds more issues, you never know what could happen, this kind of thing. So I guess I'm glad that he ended it here in this way, and I get the why now as to why he wrapped up at this point. It makes sense to me, and it ended up being a fantastic ending. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know how you're feeling at this time. Leave your comments below. Are you angry? Are you understanding? I've gone from kind of being shocked and a bit angry to in the understanding column, and just seeing it as it's an amazing ending, and it's something that eventually we were going to get to at some point, and I guess now is just the right time, it sounds like. And that's it. It's just the right time from the sounds of things. I'm not mad about it. I'm just like, yeah, it makes sense. We got to here. That's good. It's satisfying. Could have maybe done more, but you know what? Eventually you would have ended up here anyway, so that's good. It's a good thing. Rather than seeing Carl killed off in some kind of zombie fashion and everybody die or something, this is better than that anyway, and it gives us a happy ending, and it makes the story meaningful. If you like the video, please thumb it up below. You can share, favorite, and definitely leave a comment below. Let me know how you guys are feeling, because I want to know how the fan base is feeling at this time, now that the series is over. How are you feeling about it? The Farmhouse, the final issue of The Walking Dead, and a very satisfying ending in my opinion. That's it for this one. See you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.